Go. You're live.
Go. We're
Cam
live
Smith.
again?
Yep.
So fast?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a 30-second lag, so we can.
Awesome. So, I went semi-viral on a micro subreddit this past week.
Oh, really?
There's this subreddit, it's called Somni Gastronomy. And basically it's for like you to upload your weird dream foods. So
That's
like
awesome. Who the fuck makes that up? I'm so glad there's a whole culture of people who are like, I had a weird dream food. Like, who wants to talk to me about this?
I know, it's so great. It's one of my favorite like miniature subreddits because like everyone dreams about weird food. Like food just works weird in dreams. And so like people will post about their dream foods and then also people will like make other people's dream foods. They'll be like, this sounded
Oh,
intriguing. So like
that's
I'm gonna
cool.
make I had a dream about like a week ago, maybe like 8 days ago. Um I was like taking a nap and I had this dream that my family and I were in this like really like ritzy, upscale, expansive McDonald's restaurant. It was like pastel everything, very like 80s decor, like early 80s sort of decor. Um and one of the features of this McDonald's is it had tableside service. And so we like we sit down at a table and there's this like old man. He's got like a goatee, he's got like a beer belly, and he's wearing like a t-shirt and jeans and like a leather apron. And he had a name tag on his apron and it said shirt up. And I thought maybe this is a typo of like shut up or something. But then I hear a call from like the kitchen in the back going, shirt up. And it was like the way that they told him that like he had food to run because he was the exclusive waiter of this very interesting McDonald's. So he comes to our table, he takes our drink orders. For some reason, we all ordered Dr. Pepper. Um, for reference, my child is like the only one of us who usually even like touches Dr. Pepper. Like I'm not much of a soda person. Like Cleo's not much of a soda person. So like, but we all ordered Dr. Peppers. And so shirt up, walks away, comes back with three big glasses of it looks kind of like Dr. Pepper, but it's like definitely like it's got more of like a stout beer sort of like swirl to it. Um and he like sets them down on the table. He's like, I got you the good stuff. And I'm like, okay, but what is it? And he's like, the good stuff. And I'm like, what is it? He's like, the good stuff. I'm like, what's the good stuff? And he's like, it's the good stuff. We're getting nowhere. It's very like Larry David coded sort of
Totally.
exchange.
Yeah.
And so then I like decide to take a sip of mine. And so it just had a normal straw in there, but it was like this magical straw. Like its effect was magical because I took a sip of the beverage and I immediately discerned that what it was Dr. Pepper mixed with apple juice.
Hmm.
But like it wasn't intermingled together. Like the straw split it where like half of my mouth
Whoa.
was getting Dr. Pepper and half of it was getting apple juice. Like the flavors were staying separated. So naturally delighted by this bizarre dream that I've had, I go to the Somni Gastronomy subreddit, one of my favorites, and I'm like, I have to tell the world about this. So I go into Bizarre on my phone, which is my like photo editing app for when I want to do like fancy edit stuff. I go in there and I like just make a quick little like representative graphic. I throw it on the subreddit and I like explain the dream. Which so also in the stream, I feel like this is an important but secondary part. I remember like after I tried the good stuff, I was like talking to Shirt Up. I'm like, this is actually amazing. This really is the good stuff. And then I told him that my favorite thing to mix with Dr. Pepper is day old coffee with cinnamon biscotti creamer.
So specific.
I have never had this combination in my life. Not my waking
Nobody
life, at
has.
least.
Nobody has.
And weirdly enough, it sounds kind of good. Like it
I mean, it
might
sounds
work.
amazing. I can see why people would want to make this recipe. It's like I'm very curious what that would, especially since it's so specific.
I know it's very bizarre. But anyway, so I go on the subreddit. I post about the weird dream. I post this like shitty little mock up graphic that I made to represent the dream that I had. And I post it expecting to get about 50 upvotes, which is the average for most things I put on Reddit. I'm not like a prolific content connoisseur on Reddit. I make a post about something once every few months. Usually it's pictures of my cat, or occasional like short writing stuff or whatever. But I expected it to get like 50 upvotes. So this subreddit has like just over 4,000 members. This post got over 1,500 upvotes. And so
I can
then
see
it's
why,
like
though.
getting
I can see why.
right. I'm like, I am glad that other people find this delightful. But then, so like all these comments are coming in and people are delighted by like Shirt Up and his entire character. Like, who is he? Why did he bring you the good stuff? Is it actually good stuff? Let's find out. So then, over the past week, there have been like 10 or 11 people on this subreddit who have made their own posts
Wow.
making the good stuff, mixing Dr. Pepper with apple juice and like variants of this. There
And
was one person who
I
posted,
mean, that's amazing. Like, this is so great. And also just like, what did they think?
so the verdict is a lot of people say it works better if you have like an apple soda or like a sparkling apple juice. Because like the mix of like the uncarbonated and carbonated gets kind of weird. There are some people who have tried alcoholic variants. Apparently, it goes really well with rum, which I'm not surprised. I told them, like, go nuts with that. I don't drink anymore. So, like, that's your world to explore. There are people who have been like discussing the ideal ratio of juice to Dr. Pepper, people who have been trying different varieties of Dr. Pepper, people who've been trying different varieties of apple juice. There was someone who posted yesterday or the day before from Lebanon
This is
who tried
amazing.
the good stuff. And I'm like, this is wild. Like someone across the world read about my weird ass dream and were so inspired by it that they had to make their own batch of the good stuff. And so, like, I, of course, also had to try it and make a follow up post because I'm like,
Yeah.
other
Okay.
people
Yeah.
are trying this thing that my weird spirit guide shared with the world. Like, I don't know if he's trustworthy. I've never seen him in my dreams before. I don't know Shirt Up Steel. He seemed like a cool guy, but I don't know if he's trustworthy. So I'm like, I have to try it. If other people are trying it on my behalf, like, I have to try it.
And
It's not bad.
yeah.
It's truly not like, so I tried it two ways. I did one where I mixed like equal parts. So I use Diet Dr. Pepper because I don't know, I'm not big on like full sugar soda. So I did one where it was like equal parts Diet Dr. Pepper and just like standard like signature select like Safeway brand apple juice mixed together. And then I also tried it putting the Dr. Pepper and the apple juice in separate glasses, putting a straw in each glass to try to like replicate the like dream straw
Yeah.
effect. That was weird because having half of your mouth carbonated, very strange experience, strange sensation. Um, but it's just like wild to me that like this strange dream that I had like reached so many people and like inspired other people to like try this beverage. And so like I've spent probably like $6 on like Reddit gold in the past like week since I made the original post so that I could like award everyone who like posted about trying it because I'm like I want them to know that like I appreciate them and appreciate like this weird little like micro trend that I set off in this small community in this corner of the internet. Like
I mean, that's the funniest shit I've heard in so long. Like and all of it's brand new to me. Like this, corner of the internet where people are trying out people's dream foods. Um, and Okay, so but the other thing, you had another recipe in your dream. What was it again?
So that one was Dr. Pepper mixed with day old coffee and cinnamon biscotti creamer. No one has jumped on that one yet.
Is it because cinnamon biscotti creamer is a really hard thing to find? Because I have never seen that anywhere. I can imagine making it. I could create one.
I have gotten cinnamon biscotti creamer before, I believe. I can't remember if it was like maybe a Chobani one or a like I think it's Califia Farms, something like that. I usually do like oat or soy based creamers. I don't do a lot of just straight dairy. And so, yeah, like those are usually the ones I go to, but it might have been one of the like rare, like full dairy ones that we picked up because it was like a seasonal offering. But like, I feel like I do have to try it. Like, I think it's going to be really good because I like, Coke did a coffee flavor at one point, and I thought that was pretty good.
I
Like, again, I'm
mean,
not a big soda drinker, but like, it was pretty good. And
that's
so I'm
the
imagining,
that's the one I would want to try. Except for like, I was gonna say like your American is showing because like the fact that I'm like cinnamon biscotti creamer doesn't exist, and you're like I've definitely had it, but like it was non-dairy, or was it the dairy? Like you're like it's not just that America has something called cinnamon biscotti creamer, but that it has several different types of cinnamon biscotti creamer. Like it's not that it's just cinnamon creamer, it's cinnamon biscotti creamer. It's like
oh,
it's not even just like a general wafer. Like it's a very specific type of cookie.
you would be so surprised by the like creamer offerings. Like so one of our the ones that we got for a while was literally like Samoa flavored coffee creamer. So like the Girl Scout cookie Samoas, but a coffee creamer. So it's like chocolate and
I
caramel and coconut.
I didn't
Oh,
even like know that there I've never heard of Samoa cookies.
are you familiar with Girl Scout cookies, like as a concept?
Yes. I'm sorry. I got distracted because like I am getting a low alert. So just I got to keep an eye on that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I might have to suddenly end this uh stream and run off to the kitchen.
Okay. Yeah. Do whatever you need to do, and we can always fire back up the stream afterwards if
Okay.
need be, if you feel up to it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so Girl Scouts sell cookies. One of the kinds of cookies that they sell in certain regions are called Samoas. They have a different name in like so basically I think there's like an East and West region for
Hmm.
Girl Scout cookies, and they offer functionally the same cookies, but like they're manufactured by different manufacturers and some of them have different names. So I don't know what they're called in the other region. They're called Samoas uh, everywhere that I've lived. So they're basically it's just like a kind of like a wafer cookie butter cookie sort of like core that's like shaped like a donut but like little, and then it has like caramel drizzled around it, and then like a chocolate drizzle, and then like toasted coconut. So its
What?
flavor profile is like similar to like a Twix candy bar but with coconut.
Never had one, never seen one, never heard of one until today.
They are so good. I genuinely like that would be the thing that makes my gallbladder rupture if I ever allowed myself to eat one,
Wow.
because I have zero self-restraint when it comes to those. Like every other kind of cookie, it's like I'll have one cookie, maybe two if I'm feeling, saucy, and it's like, okay, that is a perfect amount of cookie for me. I start eating Samoas and it's like I black out, and it's like I'm 16 cookies deep before I know it. They're just it's like the perfect flavor balance. It's way too sweet. Like it hurts all of my dental work to eat these, but it's like so delicious.
Okay, and so
Um,
you were saying now you said there was a creamer that was
a coffee
this.
creamer that tastes like it.
Holy shit! What was it called?
It's just called Samoa creamer
Oh
because
my
like
god!
Samoa's is like such a ubiquitous term for that kind of cookie. Um, yeah,
Never heard
every
of them.
year we have like seasonal creamer offerings. I picked up some like pre-mixed iced coffee stuff at the grocery store in like October or November, and it was like caramel covered apple coffee, and so it was like sour green apple and like caramel, but it was like coffee, like iced coffee.
I mean, that sounds amazing.
It's so good. Like you quickly understand why so many Americans have such a weird and unhealthy relationship with food, because like when you just have like you go into the grocery store and it's just aisles on aisles on aisles of fucking dopamine pre-packaged and ready to consume, like
Yeah,
it's so easy to just like fall into it and be like, well, it's just creamer for my coffee. Oh, well, it's just some cookies. Oh, well, it's just this, it's just that. And then, yeah. And then if you're me, you end up, tipping the scales at 255 pounds and going to the ER for your gallbladder. Like,
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I was just thinking. I think to some extent, like we're all guilty of that. Like just in the modern era, like America does it, like everything it does it to the extreme, and like, you know. But yeah, when you were kind of describing it, I'm like, it's still sort of like that everywhere you go because I remember actually learning about this, which was really interesting. Because if you actually look at like the complexity of foods, it's bizarre because the price goes down as the complexity goes up. So like to buy an apple at a store is like the same price as buying a Twix bar, but like if you think about what went into a Twix bar, like, you know, all the way from Madagascar, we got the cocoa, and like, you just start there and like go through every layer of it. It's like sporgum moss or whatever, like fucking just all the like crazy like layers of things that it would take, and all the like layers of production that it takes to make a Twix bar versus the like layers of production that it takes to take an apple from a tree, put it on a truck, and then get it to the gas station. And then I can buy a Twix bar for the same price as that apple, but the production is way higher, and it has to do with subsidizing. So um it had to do with scaling. So like as food companies scaled, and they, their output was like higher and higher, um they had like more lobbying power to um try to get like tax breaks and subsidies on farming the foods that they need, which is like xanthan gum and like corn, you know? And so then, and then they like do this sort of like vertical integration thing where they're buying the farms and that kind of stuff as well. So then you have these like companies like Tyson Foods that's totally vertically integrated, and like you have like lobbying on top to like, you know, give yourself the subsidies that you need to run everything for pennies on a dollar, and then you can make a fucking Twix bar for dirt cheap because you're scaled to such an extreme, and you're outsourcing labor to third world nations, etc., etc. So then, and you just become so powerful that you can lobby that, like, basically pay no tax on your corn or whatever, like any corn output income you make, it's tax deductible, and the government subsidizes it, and like all this kind of stuff. So people always ask
yeah,
like why are organic foods like, so much more expensive that they use less pesticides, and I'm like, it's actually just the scale of the farm, like the size of the farm. So it's just like if you're running an organic farm, you're like, some guy with his like 100 acres at most versus like something like Tyson Foods that owns half of Argentina. You know, like
Right. Yeah, and I think like I don't know if this is going to make me sound like a conspiracy theorist or not, but I do think like part of the reason why like that system is allowed to remain unchecked is because like the more unhealthy food people eat, like the average populace eats, the less healthy the average populace is, the less resistant the average populace is. It's like what's the old saying? Uh Fucking, it's something along the lines of like hot dogs and circuses or whatever.
bread
Like
and
if you want to keep
circuses,
people like, huh?
bread and circuses.
Bread and circuses, yeah. Hot dogs and circuses, the American version.
Yeah, totally.
um
It's just the Roman
but
version versus the American version. Totally.
like it's that concept of like you keep people fed on like a, unhealthy food keeps people unhealthy, which makes them less resistant. B, it's like addictive foods, which produces like more consumers over time. C, it's like instant dopamine hits. Like how many people self-medicate with food? Like to just tolerate sort of existing in the modern era. Like so many people do that. And when you have that, like people have like more endurance to keep dealing with the bullshit.
Oh, absolutely. And
So
there's also like I mean it all cycles together so beautifully too into like if you want to subjugate the slave class it has the slave class that has the illusion that it's free because you can quit your slave job to go to another slave job. Um, you know, there's like an integrating like unhealthy food and addictive qualities also to like de-educating a population, which totally keeps it subjugant and unquestioning and unable to change. Unhealthy people are easy to control, you know, like weak people are easy to control. So yeah, like I don't know to what extent. I know you sort of prefaced it with I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, and I do think that like seeing that there are systemic um integrated interconnected um forces that continue to accelerate and siphon like power and wealth to a select few people isn't necessarily the same thing as like to me a conspiracy version is like when you take that so far as you think there's like some one guy like sitting in a building like thinking this all out, rather than like this is like this is an ecology. Like this is an ecology and like certain people are benefiting from that ecology and like they have it's in their interest to like maintain it and to keep
right.
it that way. And it's the fact that they're all like it's like it feeds power and then like the powerful people maintain that power and like they don't have any vested interest in changing it, so you're just going to keep like shuffling it along in that direction, and so then these cycles just get more interconnected, more um interwoven, and more entrenched, right? So they're harder to change.
Yeah, I feel like my conspiracy theory is that the conspiracy theory of conspiracy theories was created by the elite to make it seem more ridiculous when people called out their actual conspiracies.
Now you're sounding like a Christian saying like the greatest trick the devil ever did was convincing us he wasn't real.
Okay, yes, but like I think about like I'm going to point to Pizzagate as an example of this. Like, Pizzagate was a conspiracy created by like alt right talking heads, the QAnon group, things like that, saying there is a group of elite politicians who are abusing kids. That was really happening on Epstein Island. Like that was really happening, but they created the conspiracy of like it's this other group, it's the liberals, it's the Democrats, so that like now we are, you know, however many months into like all of the like Epstein like reveal stuff, and like nothing's happening, like no one's doing shit about it. And so like that's obviously an example of like a conspiracy that was created by the elites so that it like defanged the actual like conspiring that they were doing and the actual like activities they were doing. And so like on a broader scale, I could see like conspiracy theories as a concept sort of being like fed into society, like the image around them, the like plausibility around them, things like that, like the way that we view conspiracy theories being planted as a framework to allow that to happen, to then like basically like defang all of the like real stuff that's happening behind the scenes as like ridiculous because it's already been like established through the framework to be ridiculous.
The best trick the devil ever did was good. It still sounds like that to me a little bit, and I'll tell you why, because I don't think it's like quite as deliberate as that. I think that the people who do those things are doing them like unconsciously as a and basically what I'm saying is you're overcomplicating basic gaslighting. Like people who are liars accuse always think other people are liars and therefore accuse people of lying. People who are thieves always think everybody else is going to steal from them and are constantly, so like this is just basic, like I I like um blame other people for my own faults. Like this is basic projection. So you have, so I would say it's like you, like your, so what I'm saying is that we're saying the exact same thing, which is like people are like, look, it's you're doing these things, and that becomes a conspiracy theory. But really, at the heart of it is like something just simpler. Like they're not that smart. Like they're not that smart to be able to be like, if I like plant a conspiracy theory, I'm gonna make it undermines the idea of that conspiracy, and therefore like I am like creating a cloak for myself. I don't think they're that smart. I think it's just like, yeah, you're just like that thief that's constantly complaining that people are stealing from you, and you're constantly thinking somebody's going to steal from you, and you just can't trust anybody because you can't trust your fucking self.
I i feel like your explanation is probably more sensible. It is more sensible. I would say like my counter argument is like doing that sort of redirection is like a classic PR tactic. And also, you yourself pointed me towards Confessions of an Economic Hitman, wherein there is discussion of like that sort of like social manipulation that happens. And it's like there are people who work in the shadows who are like deliberately there to
Yeah.
like conspire and to like reshape public sentiment and things like that. And so it's like we know that like the government has employed people like that. We know that powerful
Yeah.
people do employ people like that. And again, like if you look at like PR strategies and sort of how like you know, I think about like the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, and like like okay, there is a chance that like both of them were intensely toxic to each other. I do not know enough about like the findings of that case to have an opinion on it. But what we did see is like accusation from one side, like there was abuse happening. Accusation from the other side, actually like you were the abuser. So it if the person who was like the true victim spoke up first, then like this is a rebuttal from the other side of like, no, actually like I'm rubber, you're glue, and you're the abuser. Like that's sort of the like countering. But like there is a chance that the person who spoke up first was the actual abuser looking to deflect over to this other person, because like now when this person says no, like actually you're the abuser, it feels like a petty sort of rebuttal rather than like well, why didn't you speak up sooner if you were actually the victim? Why did you wait until they accused you and then you said something? And so like we see these things happening like again in the PR world and things like that a lot, in the legal world a lot. Where like sometimes like you'll have those like preemptive strikes of like accusing someone else of something so that then when they accuse you of it back, it seems less plausible because like now it just feels like petty
The
squabbling.
Melania
So I
did. Sorry, I just got to interject here. The Melania SNL UK skit I sent you, where they're all just like having a barbecue, and they're like, "Let's play Never Have I Ever," and they're like, "Never have I ever," and then Melania just comes out of the bushes, "Never have I ever known Jeffrey Epstein." But this is exactly what you're talking about, right? Right? It's like preemptive.
yeah, preemptive sort of stuff. And so like I think again, your theory is more sensible and more likely that it's just malignant people doing what malignant people do. I am saying I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that it's like a more coordinated sort of like public opinion shaping like mission. Um
Yeah, you're probably right, and it's probably actually just a mix of the two. Like, because like of course there are PR campaigns that know how to like SEO. You know, of course there are lots of examples that you can come up with, like beyond Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, which is such a like perfect crystallization of an example of that. But I guess where it gets like where I think that we have a middle ground is like, okay, so I'm thinking specifically of like you started with the by bringing up Pizzagate, okay? So
yeah.
like, and like, yeah, I did point you to Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and I am like a full believer in CIA manipulation, and I think Russia's in every single one of our computers. I am certain that Epstein was murdered, and I have stood by that since the day he quote unquote hung himself. And actually, I used to be like a regular listener to the New York Times Daily podcast, and I would always like be like somewhat. I have a discerning mind, so like it's not like I listened to them and just believed everything that their word was 100% correct. But then when Jeffrey Epstein killed himself and quote unquote killed himself, and they did an expose on it, or they did like an in-depth whatever on it, and they were just like, the whole news story was basically like, yeah, so we looked into it and there was a camera error and somebody fell asleep and it was a daisy. I was like, how is this investigative journalism? Like, that his brother had a secondary autopsy done on him, and also like, if you know anything about the man, there's no way that like he would rather kill the whole world before he killed himself. Like, this is somebody who like wanted to reseed the world with his own DNA because he was that much of a megalomaniac. Megalomaniacs do not hang themselves in jail cells. They get themselves the fuck out, especially when they have billions on their hands. Like, this is a man who was most certainly murdered in his jail cell, and every fucking finger is pointing towards it's Occam's razor that he was murdered in his jail cell. So yeah, like I definitely like am almost prone to that thinking, if I could use that word a bit loosely. But I think that like my spiritual side is like, there's the guy who went into Pizzagate and he was like armed and he wanted to like catch these people, and I'm like, there's this weird thing about where there are coordinated, and there are like very like consciously thought up like ways to create disinformation. Like, propaganda is like a real thing you can study. But then there's like this thing about when people like find one thread, like say they read something like Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and it like makes them like go off and start kind of believing everything is this super coordinated, super well thought out thing, and they're pulling on those threads till they go nuts, and they
Oh,
literally fucking kill people because they've pulled on these threads so hard, and they're so convinced of this active, like, you know, CIA level conspiracy stuff, when so much of it is actually this passive, like, ecological, sociologically, like ecology of the group consciousness that is systemic. So it's like you have black people talking about systemic racism, and then the white people who don't understand what that means are busting into fucking this pizza place because they can't understand what is systemic, like how do people operate as a group, how do things get baked in, how do things get entrenched, and when you're not looking at things as themes, as generalities. So that's my spiritual side comes in and says, like, this is just a really like this isn't so much like yeah, there are these coordinated PR things, but if you blow it out a couple more layers, even more macrocosmically, what are we looking at? We're like looking at the human condition of gaslighting. Like we're looking at gaslighting as a whole. Like conspiracies themselves are like humanity's nasty side telling its, you know, softer side that it's wrong and stupid and it's the whole problem.
yeah, I think that's a really, really valid point. And it's like I do think like in this, like it's really important to make the distinction between like this small handful of people who might be in PR type positions, like tasked with shaping public sentiment. And then the vast, vast swaths of people who believe this information that is put out, who then become like entrenched in this like theory and this mindset in this like opinion, who are like had nothing to do with coordinating it, but they are like pushing it, they're promoting it, they're like helping it spread. It's now like becoming the like well, this is plausible to them because they, you know, whatever evil is being spoken of, they're like, well, I've thought about that, or I have a buddy who did that, or I have whatever. And so they're like, it makes total sense. Like, if we, the good Christians of this nation, do these horrible things, then the Democrats who are evil because Fox News told me so must be doing 10 times worse.
Yeah.
And then like you have like these people who end up like just sort of like spreading that out. I think like, yeah, I think more of it is like a reflection of the human condition, a reflection of like human tendencies to like human tendencies toward in groups and out groups, human tendencies to like demonize others, human tendencies to like assume the worst rather than like finding empathy and compassion and common ground. Like all of these different tendencies feeding into like again the vast majority of this happening through like people who have just, you know, they read something online and they're like, yes, this makes perfect sense. I'm not going to think about this critically. Like I am just going to like become a vector for this. And I think like for the few people who are actually like deliberately like creating misinformation and creating propaganda and things like that, like those are the kind of people who they want to have around because it makes their job infinitely easier. If they only have to convince, you know, this small handful of people who are then going to go on QAnon, going to go on 4chan, going to go on Reddit, go on Facebook, go on,
On
you know,
X.
wherever they want to spread it, on X, yeah, and spread it, like then you don't have to like do much beyond that. But like I feel like some of the evidence of like some of these like coordinated misinformation sort of campaigns, I'm glad you brought up X because like we saw when the location features turned on, how many people were talking about US politics from the perspective of a good red-blooded American who were posting from India, who were posting from Russia, who were posting from China, like internationally, like we see those like misinformation campaigns happening and like those like conspiracies being planted by people who have like shit to gain from like destabilizing American society.
Yeah.
But then it's working because there's a bunch of Americans who also like buy into this. They see, you know, John Whiteman on Twitter saying like, actually, like other races are the problem, and like if we fix that, then everything in society gets fixed. And they're like, that makes perfect sense, John Whiteman. That's not just totally my like like baked in bigotry just feeling validated. No, like you're making some really good sense. And so then like people actually stateside pick it up, and then it does like take off, and it actually like serves its purpose of being as a destabilizing force, because there are people who would like much rather sell out every one of their neighbors than like even begin to
Yeah.
examine the fact that they might hold problematic views.
Yes. Yeah. People would rather destroy every living thing on the planet than it. Some people like would rather kill absolutely everybody than admit they're wrong or they did something that they're ashamed of.
Yeah. And like I feel like if we're ever going to fix society, which is a pretty ambitious ask in the first place, like I feel like human nature is antithetical to society as we have built it. I
Yeah.
don't know that there is a system that is going to work with what we're doing. But like if we are going to fix society, if there is ever a shot, like step one is get everyone in therapy, get everyone confronting their shit, doing their shadow work,
Yeah.
like unpack all the traumas, heal yourself, like start to like deprogram yourself from whatever like problematic upbringing you had. And then maybe once everyone's gone through that, maybe we can start to look at whatever step 2 is.
Well, I've been having a kind of a philosophical debate with Johnny and Lance quite a bit recently, with regards to, you know, like healing the planet, because we decided to watch in VR together Pluribus on the big screen. And so
Nice.
we watched Pluribus together, and essentially it's about like, um, and I, part of the reason that I should preface this with, part of the reason we're having philosophical debate about it is because like they're watching it like, you know, it's a show and it's got premises and it's got writers, and I'm watching it differently because this is something I've thought a lot about. um and so, you know, to their credit, like I think their arguments are usually right because they're probably thinking more like the writers are thinking, and I'm thinking I'm waxing a bit more philosophically. But essentially, so even my description of the show will be colored by my perspective. Okay, that's why I'm saying this. So my description of the show is about humanity receiving some sort of virus or any some sort of alien. What's the best word to use? Intervention, I guess. Um, that unifies them all telepathically, except for, and then the premise, obviously, the show is about the handful of people who didn't get connected to the network. And like, they depict humanity once connected telepathically to be very well organized, very clean, very ethical, and very happy and content. And the outsiders are, you know, either like covet that state of being and would like to join, or they're resistant to it, seeing it as somewhat like how would Star Trek humans would have seen the Borg. So, like, seeing that collective identity as like a loss of something, a loss of uniqueness. Um, but the way that the show depicts this unified consciousness is the way that I like, or how they represent themselves and how they explain themselves is how I would view this phenomenon, is that the uniqueness is not gone. They're just more organized. They're cooperative because they can like understand exactly what everybody else is thinking, feeling, their experience, their identity, their feelings. So it's like, as opposed to uniqueness being lost and being one like homogenous blob of thinking, They are like a collection of unique perspectives that cooperate. And so, like, Lance's perspective on it is, like, of course, that he's got the Borg kind of point of view, which is like there's a loss of uniqueness. This is a homogenous blob, and they're coming to take your sense of identity away. Whereas I see it as like this is the like inevitable, like to me, I'm like this is the inevitable evolution of humanity. This that would be reaching a state of sort of almost a state of consciousness that a lot of aliens have reached. It's a higher level of consciousness. It's closer to enlightenment. It's like what people might call unity consciousness. And I've thought a lot about this because like Bashar, like the Daryl Anka channeled entity, this alien life form, like they get asked a lot about their society and all this kind of stuff. And like, you know, the story behind like Bashar's collective race of alien extraterrestrials is like that they were like us once, like separated, and then there was like a baby born, and it was like the special baby that like unified all of them telepathically, like in a moment, and they just blink, and it was like, oh, like unity, like we can see each other's point of view, we can understand each other, so like we don't need to talk anymore. Like you lose the mouth, right? This is why you get the gray alien face with like very little mouth, because you're not like talking, and they evolve away from solid foods too and start like absorbing energy and all this kind of stuff. So anyways, and I've thought about this a lot, like it's like what will collectively heal humanity, and I'm like that's the only, to me, I'm like, because I've had these like personal snippets with telepathy where I've experienced it and I've been like, holy shit, like I heard somebody else's thoughts, or I heard that animal's thoughts, or the, you know, and heard thoughts is kind of a crude way to put it, really. You're actually like physically embodying their like experience, like you really understand where they're coming from. But yeah, like because I've experienced that, I'm like, it is really unifying. Like I had that ex who was like super psychic. She was sort of the one that like put a name to the experience for me, and like was like, oh, this is like happening, because she could just talk about it. But like, you know, I remember once where she was like trying to explain something to me, and she was really struggling to explain it to me, and like she got so tongue-tied for words, and she just like went quiet, and then I just got full download of where she was coming from, like her history, everything, like the whole landscape of it. Like I just understood it from her perspective because I had that telepathic link for a moment. And so it didn't take away from the uniqueness of us. It didn't take away from the uniqueness of our journey. It's like it didn't create lack of it. There was still separation. There was still her and me. I just understood 100% where she was coming from. So if I imagine Bashar's world where it's like this alien race has this moment of like unity, it's really easy for me to conceptualize like instant world peace. Because like you just instantly understand where the others come from. And one of the, if not the biggest issue that we have, if this isn't our core issue, I'll be shocked. But I would say at least one of the major top 5 issues that we have as a species is how many people exist on this planet who are unable to put themselves in somebody else's shoes. So they just are in a constant state of self-preservation and self-interest. And so they're just unable to empathize or understand. Like it's just, and so you talk about therapy, and I'm like, yeah, like that's like in one example of ways that people like learn how to think about more than themselves, because they can unpack some of their, for example, they can unpack some of their own trauma, making them responsive rather than reactive. And able to hear other people because they're no longer just like hearing only the echoes of their own trauma in their head, for example. That's one reason. But then there's also like, and I know we've had this discussion before, but like my belief about like sociopathy being something that's like, you know, a gene that should occur as frequently as something like any talent or gift or ability, like autism, sociopathy. Like these are just like neurodivergent brains that there should be like a percentage of brains to create diversity and to, because they play their role. But I think that you know, I think patriarchy and capitalism have led to like a social ecology that naturally selects for sociopathy. And so because it's been naturally selected for, maybe moths were supposed to be we were supposed to be like the moths, a little bit white, a little bit brown, a little bit in between. And instead we're just like all black moths because living in a soot environment. So we're just like there's way too many sociopaths living in this environment. And so, we have this controlling contingent of people that like they're not even just selfish or traumatized, they're just literally incapable of putting themselves in the shoes of somebody else. Like they literally don't have that part of the brain that allows for empathy. And then,
See,
we have fetal alcohol syndrome, so then you have another type of brain where you can't learn from consequences. Mix those two together, and that's a spicy mix.
absolutely. Yeah, like I would be really curious. I know there is no way of finding out. I cannot think of a scientific methodology that would actually yield anything resembling useful results. But like I wonder how often sociopathic type behavior and mentality is like a result of like being sort of like genetically favored and occurring, and how much of it is like people sort of like society molding them into that. Like how much of it is nature and how much of it is nurture. Because like so so I'll point to an example of like another form of like, I don't know if it's considered a neurodivergence, but Tourette's. So there was a phenomenon a few years ago where a bunch of like tweens and teens were developing Tourette's type syndrome, type tics and symptoms, and it was like spawning out of nowhere. And so like they started looking into it, and it turns out that a lot of them had been watching content creators on TikTok. So like there were a lot of like Tourette's like awareness type content creators on TikTok, who were like talking about their experiences, who were showing what their tics looked like. And so like people who were consuming this content started like replicating that behavior, even though like they didn't actually have Tourette's. For them, it was like, it wasn't even necessarily like a conscious decision. I'm sure for some of them it was, but for a lot of them, it was unconscious of like humans mirror the behavior that we see as acceptable. So if you're spending a lot of time watching, Tourette's content creators, like content creators with Tourette's who are making content about Tourette's, like like that is suddenly going to be your main frame of reference. If you're spending a lot of time online, like that's now your main frame of reference for like normal acceptable human behavior. And so like especially in young brains, it seems like there is the failure to like separate like this is normal acceptable human behavior, and like this is also the result of a condition, and like while it is not a reason to like consider it unacceptable or like abnormal, like it is from like a very specific thing. They're just like seeing the behavior, mimicking the behavior. And for many of them, again, it was subconscious. So then I think about like so much of society favors sociopathic tendencies. Like the way to climb the corporate ladder is to be a sociopath, is to lack empathy and care only about like your own growth, your own interests. Okay, look at like the step beyond that, like to be at the top of the like corporate ladder, to now be in like the owner class, like you've got to be even more sociopathic. Even things like fucking online dating, which we both have a lot of professional experience in. um Online dating
Unfortunately.
favors. I know. um maybe if anyone ends up watching this stream, maybe we can lore drop that on the next one. But anyway, so like even online dating and like romance in general like tends to favor like a sociopathic approach. Like if you like find, if you connect with one person, if you match with them and make them your sole focus and decide, I feel a connection to this person, I'm really going to invest myself in getting to know them, like you're going to end up alone because like they are fielding 50 different people right now, and like doing the selfish thing of I'm going to sort of like start screening all of these people, and whoever I think is the best fit for me and for my needs like is going to be the one who gets through, and like I'm not even going to bother telling the other 49 like what's up, because like, and so like industry and like modern society as a whole favor sociopathic tendencies. So then I think about like, to take it back to again, you know, our days as professional catfishers. I think about like when I was moving up in leadership, I was expected to exhibit more of those
Yeah.
sociopathic tendencies the higher in the ladder I got. And that's
Yeah.
not something that comes naturally to me. I am naturally a highly empathetic person,
Yeah.
but I was expected to be able to like lay people off without like
Yeah.
feeling the emotional impact, to be able to shut off my like connection to the human beings like involved and like think rationally, well, who's going to be like the best economic choice to let go of or whatever. How many people do we have to leave without a means of income, without a way to pay their rent or buy groceries, in order to preserve the wealth that the person at the top of this system has been accruing? And so like I obviously, you know, hit a burnout point because like I couldn't tolerate that, because it was like in
Yeah.
direct conflict with like my core nature, and I'm someone who is in touch with my core nature. I've worked really hard over many years to be in touch with that core nature. But like I think about people who are more impressionable, people who are like quicker to fold, people who don't have such a sense of self. And I think about like how easy it is for even people who aren't like that to like take on that sociopathic behavior, because like that is what is modeled as like not only acceptable but desirable in society. And I would say, I know I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to wrap this up
No, no,
real quick.
I don't feel bad.
So I would point to my mom as a great example of like a real world person who I have seen go through this, because my
Yeah.
mom once upon a time was a highly empathetic person. Like she worked at as a nurse in like migrant agricultural labor camps. She was a sign language interpreter. She did not seem to have like, I won't say she didn't have an ounce of bigotry in her body, because like she grew up in rural Indiana, and so like there were definitely some like cultural things, especially like growing up in the church, like queer people were still the devil. And so like there was definitely like some bigotry that she had just sort of from her environmental upbringing, but she was not defined by that, and she was someone who seemed like open-minded and like interested in examining that, and like really sort of like growing as a person. And then somewhere along the lines, I feel like Fox News was a big part of it.
Yeah.
She started to like adopt more and more and more bigotry into her worldview, and started to adopt more and more and more sociopathic behaviors as part of that.
Yeah.
And so like I now see her as someone who is racist and like xenophobic, and like phobic against everything except for Christian religions, and still like homophobic and transphobic, and like all the bigotries pretty much wrapped up into one. Even like she's, her internalized misogyny is unreal, and I feel like the church is definitely a big part of that. But like
Oh yeah.
it's rough seeing like a woman who has been like the main breadwinner in her relationship, who is like been sort of an example of like strength and womanhood, who is like, I wouldn't trust a female president. Like, what the fuck are we doing? um
Oh, I'm sorry that I
I
laughed. It's just that it's like,
I know, it's absurd to me. It's absurd that like people can hold bigoted views that like actively like work against them like being
I know.
in
I
society
can
and
because
against
I've been that person. You know, I've been the homophobe and I've been, I mean, not for long. I wasn't able to sustain that kind of like, but that actually, two things. Can I make 2 points to this? One,
yeah.
mention of Fox News, like see earlier conversation about actively creating propaganda to actively push people in a particular direction. Like that is the most like crystallized example of it. Like it is, you know, I it's hard to even put into words the damage like that you know that organization plus its side pedal like it created an ecosystem like anyways hard hard to point to a more profound example. um but back to your like nature versus nurture, I think like you're right. Like I think, I mean, you're right about all of it, but I think that like to summarize, like it's always a little bit of both.
Yeah,
um
I
and
definitely
I think
think
that's the point of like that's like natural selection. You know, it's a very biological, like it's a very like, you know, like either you're born with these traits or you're not, you're born with this particular mutation or you're not. But yeah, like to add the layer of like also like, and it creates a nurturing environment. And like I want to give you another example to add to your examples of like, I'm like, actually, if I think about like, you know, my last job at the union where like, you know, it's like here I am at working at a union and yet like it was asking for me to isolate like a lack of caring, right? If I if I did not give a shit about how my work affected others, I would still be there. Like it literally like pushed it that what they wanted from me was like stop like giving a shit if like you're, you know, like the only way to survive that was to stop giving a shit. If I could
yeah.
have done that in either of my last two jobs, like I would be fine. If I, but like, yeah. Yeah. The systems select for sociopathy. It selects for, and it forces those who don't have that like natural tendency to do that because it's like you have to learn how to stop caring, nurse mom. You have to learn how to stop caring, Shan. Like that has been the number one message I have gotten in life, probably more than anything else. Is like you shouldn't care so much.
I know,
And
like
they're right, and they're fucking right. Like I wish I honestly, if I could turn it off, I would, because it would make life so much easier, which says everything you need to say right there.
I know, like I 110% agree. Like I have also heard that message a lot. Just like stop caring so much, stop worrying so much, like stop being invested in things, stop trying like and it like I frequently joke like how blissful naivety must feel.
Yeah.
Like I imagine just like I don't even want to say peace of mind, but it's just like I think about like if I was like a MAGA type and I woke up and I was like mad at women and mad at the gays and what was
I am now having a biology thing that is telling me that I have to end this stream and go eat something immediately.
okay. Yes,
Okay.
go eat. If you want to fire it back up afterwards, I
Okay.
will have some time. Otherwise, we can pick this back up next time.
I apologize. It's my body.
Do not sweat it. I was just thinking about asking you like how your sugar was doing and if it had stabilized at all. So
Yeah, it shouldn't be doing this, so I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But
okay.
bye everybody, all the millions of people out there listening to this stream.
Thank you for watching if you watched. And yeah, come back and check us out